Do you have your passport? Did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America? America, America, beautiful.
Welcome. This is Rudy, your binary boy here.
This is Liz. I'm trying to make up a joke about being transracial, but that's all I got.
This is Monica. I just came back to America.
Oh, can I change mine? This is Liz, and got my shots, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, you did get your shots.
Oh, yeah. You guys gave me a name while I was gone. What was it?
Polyboy or something?
No, Beau Binary.
Oh, yeah, Beau Binary.
Beau Binary. Okay, this is Beau Binary here. Check it in.
That is a Beau Binary haircut.
It is, isn't it? I don't know. This is not so binary. Maybe.
It's non-binary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Beau non-binary.
But at the same time, it's like very blue-collar dude, Joe Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of Theo Von-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, he brought it back.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about, as Monica said, black.
Let's talk about black, guys.
I'm going to constantly say interracial, but I mean transracial. And I don't know why, but I just, mix things up sometimes. Yeah, we're here to talk about controversial topic of transracial people. Are they real people? Or are they devil spawns? What's your take, Rudy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, for me, I think that the more I've been looking at it, at first it was kind of funny, and I don't know. It's like, I don't know. People don't like it. They're really against it. Say they're stealing culture, but these people are like standing on business. You know what I mean? They really are. And a lot of these people, for 10 to 15 years before they get caught, like, that's a long time to be
Right.
Passing. That's a long time. So
Dedicated.
they're doing something right. And then, they're going on these rants, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. You're just going about it in such a wrong way. So I think I'm coming around to giving these people more grace,
Is it the secrecy that is like the lies and the secrecy, I guess, is probably like what's off-putting, because when you find out somebody's been lying about something, automatically they're in the doghouse, no matter what the lie was about. So people are lying about, or what their race is, and then we find out, like, actually you're white, pretending to be black. Now it's just like, how dare you lie to us?
I don't know. I think sometimes I'm just so impressed, I'm impressed by the lies, the ability to keep that up, and the imagination that it takes to live this way. So I kind of feel for them, I have to say, sometimes. I don't know. It's a lie. It's deceitful, but also, like, all of these people are coming from, they're trading in their white privilege to, like, live another way, So there's this, like, part of me that's like, okay, I gotta give them props, It's not like they're, like, I don't know, trying to move, I don't know.
What does our resident white savior Liz have to say about this?
Well, as a professional colonizer, I would put so-called transracial people into two groups. Also, I thought I'd mention, when I read about this, aka briefly Wikipedia, the term, I guess there's controversy because the term transracial is used in adoptions to mean, for example, if a white family adopts a black child, that's a transracial adoption. And so I guess people from that area are a little pissed off at how the word transracial has come to mean freaks who pretend to be black for 20 years. But I would put them into two different boxes, okay? We've got the people like Rachel Dolezal, who live secretly and are trying to pass, and then they're found out. And then there's the people that are doing it out in the open, and they're making it part of their journey. For example, what is his name? Ollie
London?
Ollie London, for example, is making it a stated goal. Like, I am Korean, and I'm going to become Korean.
I feel like Ollie London was more temporary, because he liked the Korean features and wanted that. But now he's back to, like, I'm white.
Oh.
So I don't think, like...
Interesting.
you know, just like with the trans, trans men and trans women, there are some people who transition and then later on they're like, actually, I'm going to detransition and go back to what I was. And people see that as an excuse to be like, oh, see, this is why you shouldn't transition because, you know, you were going through a phase or something. So I think Ollie London, Carol example, I think maybe Martina Big would be an example because her transition has been really public.
Yes.
But also, we'll dive into her later so we can see. She's a very complex person.
So excited about Martina Big. This is awesome.
So yeah, we've each researched some different figures within the transracial movement, from academics pretending to be Latina to the classic Rachel Dolezal, white blonde woman who lived as a black woman for about 15 years, even becoming head of her local NAACP chapter.
And let's not forget that this is not a new thing. Did you guys have to read Black Like Me?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. That was 1961.
Yeah.
You know, this guy, I don't know if he was considered transracial, but he, you know.
He wanted to know the plight of being black in America.
Know the plight of being black in America, and we can talk more about that because that's kind of a wild story too. But yeah, back to what you were saying. I'm sorry. I just want to say that this has been going on.
Oh yeah.
For a very long time.
And then there's also the history that it's like there's a long history of people of color who have tried to pass as white for their own like safety, economic security, to put themselves out of a position of being completely under everyone in society. And so there's a history of people going one way,
right,
for to try to have some kind of security, safety, etc. And then now we're going the other way.
Yeah, I don't think that the going to the white is I don't know.
That's a little more difficult to pull off because, like, how do you get whiter?
I mean, Sammy Sosa. Have you seen that?
He definitely did get white as fuck.
Yeah, he got white as fuck.
MJ,
there are
similarities
Michael Jackson,
and there are some differences with that. I feel like comparing the transracial people to people who had to try to pass as a different race for safety or like other reasons,
literally to escape slavery,
is like a different, like they're not the same. The reason behind it is not the same. For some transracial people, it's probably like an innate feeling like I must be this color, or not this color, but I feel like I was born in the wrong race.
Do you feel like that, Monica?
No, I don't. I feel like, well, actually, I wish I were not of the human race. I were a feline sometimes. So I could just like chill at home.
That's the real transracial that we all want to be.
I want to be animal. I want to be a dog.
That's the extent of like my desire and my wish.
That's the dog in me. Wow.
Well, it's funny. Rachel Dolezal, I guess it's pronounced Dolezal.
Yeah, Dolezal.
She even, because she was not trained as an academic, but she was in the world of academia and she was very, well read on issues of critical theory and race and how it's, socially constructed and all that. And so she uses all of that lingo and actually references the long history of Black people passing as white, like you said, for their own safety, to literally escape slavery. I mean, it was done for a lot of different reasons. And she, in her book, cites this stuff as evidence of like the fluidity of race. I'm like, are you really going to shout out people who are trying to escape slavery by passing as white to identify with your situation?
I find that interesting because I don't know Big story as much, but with like La Bombadera, she was very, like, she knew what she was very well read. She had a PhD in this shit.
And this is the woman from in New York?
Jessica Krug, who pronounced her name Krug, Krug. She pronounced it Cruz. It's pronounced Cruz. But anyways, yeah, she had like a PhD in like Blackonomics. So these people like Dolezal, they like know what they're talking about. They study this shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Rachel Dolezal, so she actually, speaking of, trying to ensconce themselves in this, she applied to Howard University for her master's, and she applied with a portfolio of art depicting African-American culture, and she was given a full-ride scholarship at Howard, which, for those of you listening who do not know, it's an HBCU. It's a historically black college. And so I guess she showed up and looked like Rachel Dolezal, who's blonde and blue-eyed, and I guess her TA-ship and scholarship were taken away. That is the story that she says, because she actually filed a lawsuit against Howard in 2002, claiming racial discrimination against her because she was a pregnant white woman. Okay. Pregnant by a student that she met at Howard.
Well, she was there long enough to get pregnant, so... When did they pull out of the scholarship?
He didn't pull out.
Well, he didn't pull out.
Yeah, he did not. They had a child together, but divorced 4 years later. But it was hard for me to pin down details because there's what her parents say, okay, because they're the ones that sort of busted her for being actually white. They say, oh, she showed up, and everyone did a double take, like, wait, you're the one we just gave a scholarship to? And then she claims that, there is no place on the application for race. Mm-hmm. She didn't technically lie, and she claims that it was racial discrimination. But I couldn't find further details about exactly what went down with that. All I know is that there was a lawsuit.
Did she win? Do we know?
I actually didn't find that. Let me see.
Sometimes I noticed with, when I was looking into Martina Big, there were some things that were just, hard to find. And you can hire services to remove certain information off the internet, but if it was a lawsuit and if they settled, she likely couldn't, say anything about it. There tends to be some secrecy surrounded by it. I couldn't confirm if Martina Big's name is actually Martina Big.
And Martina Big is, give us just a quick...
She is a German woman who identifies as an African woman. Her African name is Malika Kubwa. Sorry, I should have Googled this before, but Malika Kubwa. She transitioned years ago, and she's also known for having just extremely large breasts. So not only she has the biggest breasts in Europe, but she also got some melatonin injections.
Oh, melanin, you mean?
She's very tired. So carrying around those big titties and be on melatonin,
shut up.
She's so tired. She's sleeping good.
She's like, I'm part of the black community.
I'm glad you got that, Liz, because I just was melatonin. I just accepted it.
How long have I been saying just melatonin?
Embrace your melatonin.
Let me just look to see in my notes if I modifications, melatonin.
She's been asleep for 17 years.
Okay, melanin injection.
Melanin injections, that's so freaky.
Yes, Jesus Christ.
So she lost the lawsuit.
Who?
Rachel
Dolezal.
We gotta keep this straight, Ooze.
They found that the actions taken against Dolezal were not racially motivated. Case was dismissed, and she was ordered to reimburse about $3,000 in costs incurred by the university, as well as $1,000 for a, quote, obstructive and vexatious filing attempting to delay her medical exam. So,
how did she react to the melatonin shots?
She, as a internally biological black woman, didn't need them because her skin just darkened over time. Naturally.
Okay, also I want to back up a little bit here because you guys asked me what I think of these people, but you guys didn't say what you think of these people. Are we going to wait to hear?
Oh, I feel like I did. I was just did I?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No, well, for me, when the first Rachel Dolezal thing came out, I'm this just sounds ridiculous. But this was years ago, and I didn't really think much about it since. But then when her OnlyFans blew up, and I was oh yeah, she's a thing. And then I was I wonder how I feel about this transracial thing as a whole. And I don't know what these people feel. If they innately feel I am a different race, that I was born into the wrong body, it's not for me to say you're wrong for feeling that way, or you can't feel that way, or you can't make yourself want to look the way that you feel.
Right.
Similar to how people get plastic surgery for other things, or their transition. And I know people are going to be transitioning from man to woman is not the same as this transracial thing. But for me, I'm just I don't know. I don't feel whatever it is that you're feeling, so can't dismiss it. That's it.
Yeah, I think where it starts to change is when you begin to get a material benefit. So, you know, if she got a full ride scholarship to Howard, which I think maybe should have gone to a black student. You know, things like that it's one thing to live your life the way you want to and you know, maybe you're not hurting anybody, but when you start to take opportunities away from others, you know, Rachel Dolezal lived and was accepted as a black woman for many years, and she was working in the field of social justice. She was an activist. She worked with the NAACP. She did arts education surrounding social justice issues. She could have done that as a white woman. But I think she wanted a cachet, you know. I don't know. I mean, I'll go through her history and we can talk about it. But for me, when your personal desires for your life bump up against other people is where it gets...
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that because, and black people come for me, I guess, but assuming that she got the scholarship from Howard because of her art talent and they didn't know her race until she showed up, like, if her art was better than some other person's, like, give her the fucking scholarship.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, it's like when you go for an interview and they, like, see me show up and they're like, oh, McAllister, I thought she would have been white, probably. I don't want anyone to, like, judge me based off of what I look like.
Right.
And I think it goes the same for, like, no matter what race or color you are. Because when you start to draw that line, at least for me, when you draw that line, like, this person's white, they shouldn't do X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
then it's like, this person's black, they shouldn't do this. And everyone sticks to their group. And that's how we operate. Already.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. So we got to change it up.
I know, right?
I mean, Monica, you do go to job interviews with wearing like a shamrock hat and
That
fully
was
dressed in green.
time.
With her green beer.
Yeah, with green beer and
Oh, hello, my lassies.
cabbage.
The Irish to your company.
Black Irish, haven't you heard of it?
I mean, there's so much of this going on that even just kind of researching today, I was reminded of the Japanese Chicano culture thing going on. There's
What is it? Can you explain to our listener?
I have to research more on it, but there was several news stories about it, I think in like 2019 or 2020, where all of these Japanese people are obsessed with Chicano culture. They dress as cholos, they drive lowriders, they present as cholos, as brown people, Mexicanos, Chicanos. And there was another group that I was going to mention. I'm forgetting it now, but I mean, there's like this type of thing happens so much, you know, like
Right.
This isn't just a few people. So it's hard for me to kind of dismiss that. I mean, these people are lying and, like you said, taking away from other people and blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of people who identify with another culture that's not their own, or another type of person that...
Are you going to use me as an example?
Well, no, not at all. I mean, if you...
That's a joke.
You know, I mean, but you don't walk around wearing like
A kimono.
a kimono,
Imagine.
and you know... but you're very interested in the culture. You're not taking it as far as some people, but a lot of people feel or are interested enough in their culture to try and present that way.
Yeah.
Not saying it's right, but it goes on a lot.
Yeah.
I think more than we even like really think about. And so if we're willing to extend like, oh man, I'm about to step into a minefield here. I'm going to back up and talk about some other things.
What's going to get you popped in the head?
Yeah, I know.
Say it.
I was just going to say, like, we can't dismiss how these people are feeling if we're willing to accept, like,
Right.
different, you know, trans, different sexualities, we're willing to accept that people feel different ways that we might not understand, like Monica was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not willing to, like, take that away from them. It's just when you get into the weird stealing money from people or
Yeah.
taking opportunities from people who deserve it.
Then that's just like a sign of a person being a bad person.
Yeah, they're pieces of shit. We're talking about like the pieces of shit within this group.
If you're a piece of shit and you're trans, you're a piece of shit. If you're, a piece of shit and you're transracial, you're a piece of shit. If you're a piece of shit as, a binary boy, you are a bigger piece of shit.
Right.
Like you should be
Bigger piece of shit.
right. You should be trying to transition from like a piece of shit to not a piece of shit. Like that should be the trans thing that you're working on.
Yeah.
We're all human, unfortunately.
I know. I don't know why I'm defending these people so much. As I was researching, I kept thinking, wow, this is like, I never thought about it that much, as I was like reading about these people,
Yeah, I think also as like being part of a group that tends to already get like stereotyped and marginalized, when you see other people from like other groups having that happen to them, you're just like, they probably don't deserve it. I'm not them. I can't speak for them, but like, it can be that bad, can they? I don't know.
Yeah. I think I have a knee-jerk as a white woman, but I think that me being white, I have more of a knee-jerk reaction. Like, that's so fucked up, that's so horrible. And my first instinct is definitely not to extend grace or compassion, but more just knee-jerk about, like, how the fuck could you...
Because it seems so wrong.
Right.
It's like, why do that? And then I think also another thing is, like, at least the people I'm seeing, they're ugly. So it's just like, now you just... they're not that good looking. Like,
Rachel if you're good looking...
like, body, amazing. Face, no. Like,
dude, the OnlyFans pictures that I saw, I have not subscribed.
She got her body, nice.
Her body is snatched.
I did not know.
Cover it up.
I don't think it's that bad.
Martina Big.
She's doing better than Big. Big is... I don't know what Big is.
Yeah, like, I think it's because, like, they're not that attractive. So I'm just like, I'm not willing to accept you because you're ugly.
I think money and good looks will push the line a little bit farther than if you're an ugly person.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You agree? Maybe that's why Liz is having a hard time accepting them. She's like, these bitches are whack as hell. I don't want to look at them. I don't want to see them on my Insta feed. Like, fuck you.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, does because beauty constitutes its own set of privileges in society. So, for example, someone like Hilaria Baldwin.
That's the other one I wanted to say. Yes.
Yeah. She is conventionally attractive. And so she had sort of, I don't know, she got on the cover of magazines like Latina Mom of the Year, this and that, pretending to be Spanish the whole time, which in this case, I guess it would be not transracial, but transcultural or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah. There was definitely a lot of wacky look. It turns out that you look really weird when you try to transform yourself completely physically to look like something totally different.
Yeah.
And if you saw Martina Big on the street, you'd be like,
Listen.
that's not right. Something's up there. And same with the Black Like Me guy. He did not. But in his book, of course, nobody knew. I kind of, when I was reading that and seeing the pictures when I was even, whatever, I was 16 or 15, I was like,
Hey, so hello, fellow black people. So also I want to highlight a term copyrighted by academic Ronnie Gladden, who wrote a book called White Girl Within, because he identifies as a white woman on the inside, transracial. And he uses it to refer to himself as someone who has, I'm not sure if he personally, I know he identifies as non-binary, and his book is listed as nonfiction, but in the book he identifies both, not as a black man, but as a white woman within. So he actually copyrighted the term in 2018.
What is it called?
Transracial.
Gracial. What is that? Grace? Like he's so gracious?
No, gender. Transracial and transgender combined.
oh, hell yeah. Slap it together.
Or I guess transracial. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce it.
Uncrustables. That's right.
How much melatonin is he taking?
He's trying to suck the melatonin out of the skin. So Rachel Dolezal was born Rachel Ann Dolezal in Lincoln County, Montana in 1977 to Ruth Ann and Lawrence Larry Dolezal, who are white and primarily of German, Czech, and Swedish origin.
All you had to say was Montana.
She has an older biological brother, Joshua, who is currently a professor of English at Central College in Iowa. And when she was a teenager, her parents adopted 3 black children and 1 Haitian child. And her parents were Christian missionaries. She graduated from high school in Montana and then went to college at University in Jackson, Mississippi in the mid-90s. And this was around the time that her parents adopted the children. And she became heavily involved in racial reconciliation efforts and various groups at her college, and became increasingly interested in African American art and culture. So this is when, as I explained, she applied to Howard, got her scholarship, and majored in, according to her, experimental studio and minored in sculpture. And she married Kevin Moore at that time in 2000, who she met at Howard. He was a black medical student. And I have an image here of their wedding, which...
I want to know more about experimental studio.
Yeah, I was just thinking
That sounds
the same
cool.
thing.
All right, I'm looking for the.
You're looking for experimental studio? Is that what you're looking for?
I sent you guys a photo of their wedding, and I'm also going to send you a photo of Rachel. She says this is when she was 17.
Damn, so she's not even presenting as black right now. This is like full white lady.
Yeah, can you describe her wedding picture?
She's,
Young as hell.
yeah, she looks like every white bride I've ever seen, except for Liz. She's just got the white girl hair up, white girl shoulders. What'd you say?
Blonde hair.
Blonde hair. Yeah. Except there's like mad black kids in the front. I'm not sure who. The one on the far left is like not having a good time.
So I am having difficulty texting this one.
Do kids actually have a good time at weddings?
Oh, I loved weddings when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You get to dance. You steal drinks off the tables of the adults.
Nobody is monitoring you, so you get
Nobody
to run
watches
around
you.
like a pack of animals. I just sent you a photo of her when she was 16, when she was still blonde and blue-eyed, and then a photo juxtaposed of when she was passing as black at the NAACP.
What age do you know?
That would have been in about 2000. So this is a little earlier. This is 2010. This is right after she kind of really started honing in on the being a black woman thing. So she would have been, if she was born in 77, and this is about 2010. This is when she was in her early 30s.
I want to know what you had to think.
Great math.
Whatever. You guys weren't doing the
I
math.
didn't do it either. I'm just like, I wanted an answer and you didn't give, but it's okay.
Early 30s.
Well, I wanted shout out to the neighbors. We have our first guest on the podcast.
Okay, Monica, please step aside for black and brown voices, okay? Thank you.
I identify as black and brown.
Both? You can't have both.
I wanna. I'm dad's black and my mom is brown.
She's 32 in this photo, so early 30s, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so I see Rudy expressing skepticism that Monica can identify both as brown and
I'm
black.
just talking shit. I know she could be both. We're just having fun.
Just having a little race play.
We're just having a little race play. We're just race horsing around.
Race horses.
Is that experimental?
Yeah, experimental race. That's what these people are doing.
So does Rachel talk about why she chose to transition, or like what sparked it?
She does. She talks about, in her book, she talks about her very young influences. So she wrote a book later. I'll get sort of around to the history, but her book is in chapter 2. It's called Escaping to Africa in My Head. As a little girl, my skin was pale, my hair blonde, and my face full of freckles. While I may have looked like Laura Ingalls Wilder, that's not how I felt. I loved drawing pictures of myself when I was young, and when it came time to shading the skin, I picked a brown crayon rather than a peach one. Peach simply didn't resonate with me. I felt like brown suited me better. It was prettier. I could see that my skin was light, but my perception of myself wasn't limited to what my eyes could take in. The way I saw myself was instinctual, coming from someplace deep inside of me. Living in the mountains of northwest Montana, we were about as far away from Black America as you can get and still be in the U.S. We didn't have a television in our house when I was growing up, so I couldn't familiarize myself with black culture that way. I didn't even know Good Times, Sanford and Son, or the Jeffersons existed till I went to college. In one portrait that I drew of myself during my childhood that I've held on to, I drew myself as a brown-skinned girl with black curly braids. Beyond the color of my skin, what's most notable is the cheerful tone of the picture. The sun is shining, flowers are blooming, bees are flitting about, and the little girl standing there beside them, me, is smiling. This was rarely the case during my childhood. So she talks about very early on reading National Geographic and imagining herself as a Bantu princess. And her parents have rebutted this and say, we don't remember any of this. This never happened. There was no crayons.
This just screams, you know, when people write their artist statements and when I was a kid, I was obsessed with light and the way that it played, you know.
Yeah, you're like,
it's
congratulations.
Like it's this way that you know.
She's an artist. But also, I mean, I'm sorry, but also parents are like, can we trust their, like, I feel like when I had my childhood, my memory of it is very different from like my sisters who are also growing up with me, and definitely very different from what my mom remembers. So yeah, maybe there was a colored pencil or crayon incident, but her parents remembering, they probably got dementia now, or they just weren't paying attention to her. Like, parents be blanking out on kids. Could have happened is all I'm saying.
I really want to know Monica's view of her childhood and your family's view of
it. Is wild how people growing up in the same house at the same time can have such wildly different experiences. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Monica,
can you talk about... I feel like this should be a whole podcast. Like, I need to come up with examples. But sometimes I ask my sister if they remember something, and they're just like, vaguely. And I'm like, how do you vaguely remember this? This was like such a huge just to me.
It's so important to you.
Just a Monica thing.
Yeah, just a canon moment in your life that your sibling barely remembers. Me and my sister have discovered so many of those where she's like, remember when, you know, you and so-and-so got into that insane fight and you were crying and sobbing and you ran away. I'm like, I have no memory of that.
This is like, that happens daily.
Yeah, I'm like, you mean yesterday?
You have to be more specific.
Right. So she claims that her childhood was abusive, that her parents were really stringent, and says that as soon as we were physically able to, Josh, her older brother, and I were required to work right alongside Larry and Ruth Ann, who, like many other back-to-the-landers of that era, practiced a subsistence lifestyle that kept them laboring from dawn to dusk. So she talks about harvesting vegetables and this and that. They had to make bread, make cheese. I was so young when I started working in the kitchen, I had to stand on a chair just to reach the counter. If we broke any dishes, we'd get a beating. She talks about how imagining that she was a different person in a different place was one of the few ways that she could escape the oppressive environment she was raised in.
Maybe she felt like a slave in her parents' household, and that's where this all started.
Spoiler alert, she does mention in her book, she draws a loose parallel between, she talks about how she was basically growing up in indentured servitude.
This is where these people need to know better. This is why they're getting a bad name, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say that part. We can all...
I make jokes about indentured servitude all the time, though. Comparing some of, like, Virginia works to it. Like, the amount that they're paying you, it's, like, equivalent to indentured servitude. And are people not allowed to make those jokes? Or make those comparisons?
Yeah, you can.
I would be
You're black, brown, you're white. You can make any joke you want.
Not, like... Slaves were just black.
The Irish were slaves too, Monica.
Yeah, there were slaves of all colors and sizes.
It's true. All slaves matter.
All slaves matter. Oh, man. Whoa.
So, Canceled.
Yeah,
always you.
Oh, I thought I'm not allowed. I thought we were just talking about how we're allowed to make jokes.
No. According to you and Rudy's logic, only me and Rudy can make these jokes, okay?
It's true. I'm self-canceling. So at some point, she moves to Idaho and starts working as an education director at this Human Rights Education Institute and as a part-time art instructor at North Idaho College. And she would later move to Washington and started working as a part-time professor in the Africana Studies at Eastern Washington University. And in 2010, this is where the family stuff comes back in, she got custody of her adopted brother, who claimed that Ruth Ann and Lawrence beat him and his siblings and threatened to send them to a group home, which is an incredibly fucked up thing to do to an adopted child. And so she got custody of him, he was emancipated from his
Say that's
parents.
her son.
And she began to identify her adopted brother as her son.
Well, if she adopted him, that is her son. This is my brother that I adopted to be my brother. Is that a thing?
My adopted brother.
Well, like you adopt someone.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, because he was a minor. So yes, she did adopt him, but she started saying this is my birth son, as well as her much younger baby who she birthed. I think that her parents accuse her of lying about a lot of stuff, and maybe some of it she's not lying about, but she did things like in an interview with Coeur d'Alene Living magazine in 2012, she said that she was born in a teepee in Montana and that she used to live in South Africa. Her parents say that they briefly lived in a teepee before she was born, and her parents later went to South Africa as missionaries when she was in college, but she says that she lived with them.
Do we also want to believe the parents that outed their daughter for trying to be herself and also potentially abused the children?
Oh, it gets worse.
I'm looking at the wedding picture, and I think that these people in the picture are her parents, possibly.
They don't look nice.
I believe that they beat all of these people. Everyone in this picture got beaten.
They beat her black husband too.
He used to be white. They beat him so bad.
The dad just has that racist face.
Oh,
I know that sounds horrible, but
Yeah.
it's just like...
He's got that I beat you, I'm fucked up from the military and I beat you tattoo.
Yeah, he's the only one looking at like the opposite camera, or like he scares me.
So, about the same time as the news of her caucasity broke, and I'll get to the details of that in a little bit, her brother Joshua, the oldest sibling, was charged with sexually abusing their adopted sister Esther between 2001 and 2002 when she was 6 to 7 years old. Claims that Ruth Ann and Larry Dolezal vehemently deny, claiming that they don't know why Esther would team up with Rachel to destroy the family. The affidavit for the case reveals that the victim, which is Esther, says that Joshua also abused her older sister, which would be Rachel. And in a separate incident that allegedly took place in 91, an alleged victim told Billinger in an email statement that when Joshua was 16 or 17, he allegedly pinned her to the ground and tried to pull off her clothing. According to the statement, Joshua showed the alleged victim a collection of photos of topless and naked African women from a National Geographic magazine and said he would masturbate and get off to these pictures, and was turned on by the black body. And the victim wanted to report the incident now because Joshua Dolezal has a 1-year-old daughter, and redacted does not want the daughter to be victimized. So these are alleged, and the charges were later dropped. I forget what the term is, with or without prejudice, meaning that they could be refiled, but they were completely dropped. And so the parents vehemently deny this, but I don't know. Montana, missionaries.
Yeah. Something's amiss.
Something's amiss.
I would bet all the money in my account, which is not that much, that all of these people have some kind of trauma, abuse, sexual abuse. Martina Big, I don't know. We don't know. But it seems to me that like something has to happen.
Yeah, that's my instinct, that something, but I mean, I understand what it's like to be attracted to a different culture. I never wanted to make myself
Remember when you got canned and you were telling everyone that you Boricua?
Mm-hmm. I am Boricua.
Yep.
You can still tell. But yeah, I've always, like, growing up in New Mexico, I always, like, I don't know, just...
Yeah, you were the minority there.
Yeah, I was around a lot of, like, Mexican American and New Mexican culture and, like, really enjoyed the people, the food, you know what I mean? It was just part of where I was growing up. However, I have not yet felt the need to conceal my race and try to get a crazy tan.
I mean,
pass as a...
Around the house, you wear chanclas.
I have a Spanish name at home.
Yeah.
What's your Spanish name?
My Spanish name, Maleta. Rudy's dad gave me, he's like, I'm going to give you a Mexican nickname. And it was Maleta, which means crutch because I'm so clumsy. So, okay, another interesting feature. So starting in 2007, records show that Rachel Dolezal had filed police reports. So this is going back to 2007 for various threatening letters, intimidating calls, and nooses left on her front porch. The latest incident had occurred in February 2015. So this is we're about 6 months before she gets busted.
Can I say that I'm kind of hung up on the moleta because it means suitcase. That's what I know it for. So either way, it's a weird nickname. Okay.
Yeah, it is strange.
Both.
Wait, did we get it wrong?
I think we got it wrong.
Maleta?
What is crutch? Crutches or crutches?
They also like amongst like Spanish. Sometimes like straw is like 10 different ways to say it.
Oh, muleta. It's with a U. I didn't realize that it was with a U. Okay, muleta.
Okay.
See that?
That's
Why are
uncomfortably.
you gonna have two words so close to each other?
Muleta. Oh, you have a muleto?
Muleto,
Is that a thing?
muleta.
She, in February 2015, she told police that she received a threatening package mailed to the P.O. box of the Spokane NAACP, of which she was the regional head at that point, with her name in the front. She said that inside were photos of black people being hanged, an image of a man and woman pointing guns at the viewer with the text, "No more hesitation," and political news articles. She told the police she believed the person had attended one of her presentations on the history of racism because some of the pictures appeared to be the same ones she used, according to the police report. The package was missing a date stamp and barcodes. Postal employees told detectives it was unusual and said they wouldn't put an item into a P.O. box without a barcode. Police were able to pull male DNA from a piece of tape on the package, the report said. The letters appeared to have been written by someone using the alias War Pig. Cool. They sent later in May letters to the spokesman review, the local chapter of the NAACP, and the police department, apologizing to Dolezal for the worry, concerns, and grief I had caused her.
Sorry, I sent you some racist shit.
Male DNA? Like male, M-A-I-L or M-A-L-E?
The actual mail system, the mail USPS.
Yeah, they found.
What are we talking?
No, a
man.
A man.
War pigs.
War pig.
Is it a trans man?
Trans male man.
We don't know. There's no way to
Does
know.
male identify as female, male, or non-binary?
It's a construct, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to send you all a photo of her demonstrating with other members of the NAACP.
I think she's fine.
Okay, that's a
Like
really...
sexy?
Yeah. I think she's cute.
Okay,
That's
that...
a really bad photo.
I don't know
I
what...
can't, it doesn't even blow
Liz,
up.
No, I
What?
don't understand what is going on here with
Girl,
my...
be canceled. You know, like Rudy
Canceled.
next. Rudy, take over.
So, now we're just going to go through all of her OnlyFans content for the next hour.
You're gonna rate her.
We're going to read it. I think she's cute.
You think her face is cute?
Yeah. I think she's cute.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. Not when she was a little white girl.
This is her protesting.
The shades and the curly hair thing that she likes to do so much.
Yeah, she likes to. So what was she doing to was she just getting a crazy perm?
Yeah, she was perming her hair and, as she says later, not staying out of the sun. So there were other incidents. In 2009, she had called the police to report that someone put a swastika sticker on the front door of the Human Rights Education Institute where she worked. In 2010, she said she had received a threatening message on her phone. At the time, she was a multicultural faculty advisor for the Human Rights branch of North Idaho College. And then in June 2010, she told police someone had hung a noose on the rafter of a storage shed on her property. She told authorities it occurred at other places she lived. And she said, the police report says, Rachel says this all started a while back when she was threatened at her work because of what she does with human rights and her ethnicity. The report said, noting that she was a mix of white and black. A neighbor later told investigators, I'm 90% sure it was the same rope that I put up about a year ago to hang a deer on my property. He told Dolezal about it around the same time she filed the report, and the case was closed after she did not return calls from police. So there's this history of racist threats against her. Her older brother Joshua, who of course is very anti-Rachel, says that he thinks that these are all made up. The whole thing about the P.O. box is a little weird because you can put a letter in someone's mailbox, right? You could put a threatening letter with no stamps in, but how do you get an unstamped, unbarcoded letter into a P.O. box that's locked?
You know somebody at the post office, but I don't think.
Is it an inside job? What do you guys think?
Maybe.
So...
The older brother who abused everybody doesn't like Rachel.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's... The lady doth protest too much. You know, she's coming up with a lot of nooses, a lot of mail.
Yeah.
She has right to be paranoid though, because people see her and they want her fucking head on a spike because of what she's doing is wrong to them.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that after she got busted, she must have gotten definitely vile racist threats.
Yeah.
So
for her, white people coming for
yeah,
her.
exactly.
Everyone's coming for her. So yeah, I would expect some paranoia.
Sam Gunning, who took one of Dolezal's Introduction to African American Studies courses in 2003 at Eastern, told an interviewer that Dolezal had once offered extra credit to students who attended a speech by Jesse Jackson at the University of Idaho. He remembers seeing Dolezal hug Jesse Jackson after his speech, that it was pretty wild. Gunning, who said that he learned of Rachel Dolezal's background on Twitter, said he never had any doubts about her blackness because her hair was in braids and she was teaching African American studies. So at this point, it's 2014. She's elected NAACP chapter president in Spokane, and she'd become a hairdresser. She is teaching. There's a student who was at Eastern Washington University who says that, the student who told the interviewer she identifies as Hispanic, grew up in a Spanish-speaking country, speaks the language fluently, and while she has light skin, believes she has a pretty solid understanding of what it's like to be Spanish. She raised her hand to participate. This is after she asked for someone who was Hispanic. I think we should ask another student. The student recalled Dolezal staying in class. The student asked why she couldn't participate. Rachel said I didn't look Hispanic, she said, and that her instructor doubted that I could share experiences of racial or ethnic discrimination because I didn't have the appearance of looking Hispanic. Rachel Dolezal instead selected another Hispanic-identified student to sit before the class.
Okay, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
The weird thing is, okay, she says, I think I have a pretty solid experience of what it's like to be Spanish.
Oh.
She says she identifies as Hispanic. Okay, so she grew up in a Spanish-speaking country. So is she Spanish? Which within our like weird understanding of race and ethnicity would technically be white, like how Hilaria was technically like appropriating culture, not race. Like,
yeah.
Well, Rachel says she doesn't really believe in the idea of race.
That she acknowledges it as constructed, right?
Mm-hmm. She doesn't like to be classified as transracial either. She says, I will admit that maybe it's a useful word for some people and kind of stepping forward along the staircase of understanding identity, but I don't like it because I don't believe in race. To say transracial further entrenches that idea. She says, I really feel we need to come up with better vocabulary.
So she shared this photo at one point on the NAACP Facebook it said, me, my oldest son, and my dad. Okay. So in this picture, she claimed that this man was her father.
Who is that man?
So this guy wrote the foreword to her book that she later published. And he's an older man that they connected with over social justice issues. And he kind of, in his mind, kind of spiritually adopted her and became like a mentor to her. And he, even after all this stuff happened, he wrote the foreword to her book and just said, like, I know her heart, I know her soul, and what she's fought for. So let's get further down into the exposure. She was in an interview about one of these alleged hate crimes, June 10th, 2015. A reporter was saying, he was asking her, like, why do you think you've been targeted and this and that? And right at the end of the interview, he pulls out a picture, and it is a photo of her real parents. And he asks her, are these your parents? So I'm going to open up this YouTube.
Like those motherfuckers.
So she was trying to be oppressed so much that she got caught.
Yes. So here is...
Is she just...
Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's my dad.
This man right here is your father? Right there?
Do you have a question about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was wondering if your dad really is an African-American man.
That's a very... I don't know what you're implying.
Are you African-American?
I don't understand the question of... I did tell you that, yes, that's my dad. And he was unable to come in January.
Are your parents... Are they white?
It sounds like Dr. Phil. Is he someone Dr. Phil?
Oh, yeah.
She wouldn't say it. She would not say it.
No, she's like, I don't understand the question.
Like, candid I gotcha video.
Oh, yeah.
Because she probably was on there for something totally unrelated. And then for him to be like, I got her and I'm going to ask her, put her on the spot. Like, imagine being blindsided like that. I'd be pissed the fuck off. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep talking. Like, what?
Also, her parents totally busted her. Who else would it be aside from her parents? And then in the next week do like a dozen interviews, like dissing the shit out of her.
What? That's the thing. Why was it important to bust her for them? I mean, yeah, they're like, she's lying or whatever, but
is that Christian?
Just let her go.
To try to humiliate your child publicly?
Yeah. So that lets me know that they probably did beat her. Yeah, they're trash.
So the cards fell very fast. At first, the NAACP supported her and said, "We respect her privacy in this matter. One's racial identity is not a qualifying criteria or disqualifying standard for NAACP leadership." They stand behind Ms. Dolezal's advocacy record. However, as the world went wild for this story, she was fired. She resigned her position. She lost her job as an African studies instructor and was investigated by the Spokane City Ethics Commission over whether she lied about her race on an application to be on the police oversight board. Her parents claim she never drew with a brown crayon. That's false. That did not happen. She has never done anything like that as a child, though she was
all brown crayons in the home. Therefore, it did not happen.
She's like, I know, because I took out everyone. Yeah. She's never done anything like that as a child, though she was always attracted to black people. We had friends from Nigeria and different places and African-American friends that we had in our circle, and she was used to relating to people of diversity. And her dad said, all we can surmise is that somehow that identity has transferred from being part of a multi-ethnic family to somehow thinking that she is somehow herself multi-ethnic. So one of her other brothers, not the one that she adopted, said, "My younger sister Esther is fully African-American. Rachel used to do her hair a lot. She really enjoyed it, so she already knew a lot about hair products and started applying them to herself. Then, starting in 2011, she started applying makeup to her face to appear darker and darker and perming her naturally straight blonde hair," said Ezra. After she lost her job, she began braiding and doing weaves part-time for money. And in October 2016, a year later, she legally changed her name to Nkechi Diallo, which means gift of God.
That name just rolls off her tongue. The name change could also be a way to like further displace her from her biological family because they sound like crap.
They sound like assholes.
Her name is also so
It's
infamous.
poison, right?
It's infamous.
That's what she said. She said, "I'm changing my name because no one will hire me under the name Rachel Dolezal. It's poison." So she then releases a book in 2017 in full color, Finding My Place in a Black and White World. She talks about a lot of stuff in the book. She recalls her marriage to Kevin, who she met at Howard. She said he frequently urged me to speak and act whiter and often complained about my figure. I was a little too black for his taste, she writes. Not only did he discourage me from wearing braids or any other black hairstyles, he also dissuaded me from sitting in the sun, preferring my skin to be as pale as it could possibly be. Kevin's blackness wasn't the cause of our disconnect. If anything, it was his disdain for blackness that created so much distance between us. It was a couple years after their divorce that she was no longer feeling obligated to check white on medical forms. Once I started claiming my identity and checking black, any whiteness I possessed became invisible to the people collecting the forms and even to the doctors examining the most intimate parts of my body. Yeah, at one point in the book, she does compare her childhood to slavery. It wouldn't have been too much of a stretch to call me an indentured servant. Like many of us, she had her fair share of chores while growing up, and she said because of the strenuous chores she endured, she was like black folks who suffered through chattel slavery. She claims that she had to begin making crafts for money to pay for the things she needed because her parents wouldn't provide. And so this is from an article from The Root by Danielle Young. She said, the more I read, the more I realized what she was trying to do. And Becky wanted to make herself... wanted to make herself look pitiful, like the biggest victim of growing up white we've ever seen. That way, her morphing into blackness would be accepted, or at least not so vehemently rejected. The sad thing is, if this is the truth, Becky's upbringing is upsetting. She talks in detail about being molested by her brother, being force-fed to clear her plate, even if she vomited, and having her father flirt with her. But there's just something about Becky that gives you boy who cried wolf vibes, and believing her is a challenge. Then we get to OnlyFans. In February 2024, Diallo once again made headlines when she was fired from her job as a teacher in the Catalina Foothills School District in Tucson after admins learned of her OnlyFans account. "We only learned of Miss Nkechi Diallo's OnlyFans social media post yesterday afternoon," a spokeswoman for the school district said. "Her posts are contrary to our district's use of social media by district employees and our staff ethics policy. She's no longer employed by the school district."
What grade was she teaching?
I don't know.
Was she teaching experimental studio or?
God, I hope so.
It's just so weird for someone to be like, I don't see race, and then they choose a race on their form. But like, a lot of times you don't have to. Like, I decline to self-identify, which is what I've been doing lately when I apply to thousands of jobs.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
you
cool.
don't need to know my race or my disability status or if I'm a protected veteran or not.
Right. I feel like that's just a way for them to be prejudiced against you. They're like, this that will only be used in like federal data, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, will it?
Decline.
Yeah.
Identify.
So I sent you guys some of the OnlyFans shots, which I know you've already seen, just to brush it up. Okay, this brings up a separate topic that I think it's really fucked up for people to get fired because of something like this. Is that hot take? Or if you're working with kids, should you be banned from doing this on the side?
No, because this is a paid subscription thing and it's private and it's not something that should be shared without consent. This is what our society likes to do. When someone gets their nudes leaked, then it's like the person who's in the photos who gets the backlash versus like
The people who shared them.
shared that shit. It's illegal and rude. And am I still trying to Google to find some of them? Yeah, but that's not the point. You shouldn't have put it on there.
Yeah, am I texting you guys with them right now? Yes. No, I completely agree. And this is reflected, this permissiveness and encouragement of sharing these intimate things. It's not even illegal in a lot of places. They're just starting to enact revenge porn laws and things like that, where in a lot of places it's not illegal to share your ex's nudes without her consent. You know what I mean? It's illegal to do it if she's under 18. But the law is just catching up with this. But we're definitely very hungry as a society for these kinds of humiliation stories.
Yeah, we all want to look at porn and beat off, but it's evil. But it's evil, and you should be punished for it.
Anyone
But we
who
all
does
want to
it.
look at it. It's
Don't
like
spill
right.
thy seed.
yeah,
Wrap it in a rubber so R. Kelly could be like, I'm made out of rubber.
I pulled back the cover.
Oh my god, it's a rubber.
I mean,
Also, everyone, okay, for example, especially like right-wing conservative people who are often most outwardly critical of people who work as sex workers or whatever, they're always complaining about how bad the economy is and you can't make money and this and that. She says, I was doing this to stay afloat.
if we pay our teachers more, they don't have to be on fucking OnlyFans. And if you want to be on OnlyFans, fucking do it. Who gives a goddamn shit? If you're a good teacher, if your kid's coming home and their experimental art is off the charts, what do you give a fuck? Right?
Let her experiment.
Also, lower that price because I can't pay $9.99 a month, Rachel. Jeez.
$9.99. Oh, she's having a sale. Oh no, that makes me feel even worse.
Well, no, some people have like free profiles.
Oh,
and then
really?
You have to pay to like unlock the content.
Yeah, she had packages that she was selling.
She wasn't. It wasn't Rachel Dolezal.
It's under Rachel Dolezal. I'm on her page right now.
Are you?
Rachel Dolezal.
Send it
Last
to me.
seen March.
It
3rd.
was on Nkechi Diallo before.
I should subscribe to give her some money.
Support our teachers.
Support our teachers. Watch Rachel Dolezal's.
Yeah, this humiliation boner that our society
I
has
hate
is so
it.
disgusting to me.
It's
We're just so
wrong.
eager. It's like the Britney Spears upskirt shit all over again. We think we've evolved from that, but we haven't.
No, we'll never evolve.
So she has a podcast now where she has guests on, and that's how I learned about the White Girl Within scholar who identifies as transracial, because she had him on the podcast. So I haven't listened to that yet, but I look forward to hearing about their conversation. So that's Rachel Dolezal.
So, what about her podcast? Can you?
I haven't listened to it yet.
I'm excited to hear it. Actually,
Rudy, were you not paying attention?
no, I wasn't. You sent me your OnlyFans. I'm looking at I'm looking at the OnlyFans.
I just did a whole thing about, I was like, yeah, I haven't listened to her podcast yet, but that's how I learned about the transracial guy who identifies as a white girl.
I'm so sorry. I was looking at the OnlyFans.
How's your podcast?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
OnlyFans.
It's pretty good.
Give me a break.
Rudy, get off of her fucking OnlyFans. Liz, if you guys go in debt, you know why.
It's only $95 for 12 months, okay?
Editor's note, the recording dropped out here, but we're talking about charges filed against Rachel for alleged welfare fraud.
The charges were filed after it was revealed she had received $8,800 in food and childcare assistance between August 2015 and December 2017. So over 2 years, she got $8K in food and childcare, not money. During that period, she had received tens of thousands of dollars in unreported income, but told the state that her income was less than $500 a month. State investigators discovered that after her book was published, about $80,000 had been deposited in her bank account in monthly installments between August 2015 and September 2017. So I'm like, okay, $80K, so that's $40K a year, which is like not enough to live on with a child.
No.
According
to lady her food stamps.
Right. She says she could have received a sentence of up to 15 years in prison if found guilty. I'm like, we're more ready to throw people in jail for getting like $2 extra in food stamps than we are like Sam Bankman-Fried. Like, I don't know.
15 years.
Which, like, okay, yeah, she should have like reported it or whatever, but I'm like, it was for over 2 years. She got what? That's like $4,400 a year. So she wasn't getting that much.
Leave my queen alone.
My queen, my Nubian queen.
My Nubian queen.
So she was getting like $360 a month of food and childcare.
Man,
I'm like, you're gonna put someone in jail for 15 years for that shit?
I'm just trying to feed my black family.
She's trying to feed her black family.
They're hungry.
My little African child is starving. Don't deny.
So hungry. So hungry.
So what happened with that? Has she gone to trial? Or I don't even know if a trial would happen.
She's in food court.
The recording dropped out here as well, but Rudy and Monica had some killer jokes about her being tried in food court by Judge Sabaro.
So any closing thoughts on our part 1 transracial journey?
I don't know. That made me like Rachel Dolezal a lot more.
Liz, are you confused about that?
She's my queen.
No, because we humanized her, learned more about her story. Everyone can relate to having weird, shitty family of some kind, or weird things happening to you when you're a kid that you don't understand, or are terrible, or I don't know, or doing weird things and you're not sure why you're doing them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think she hurt anybody. She really didn't.
Or not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, a lot of her activism and her studies, like, I don't want to discredit that. Like, she actually did the work, did the research, does more than I fucking do. Like, see me at a protest? No. Yeah. See Rachel? Yeah. Yes. You know,
she was like walking the walk.
She was walking the walk. She was talking the talk. And you know what? Respect to her, because it ain't going to be me. Gotta be someone else. It ain't gonna be me.
And her OnlyFans is so good. Everybody go run. Everybody run to her OnlyFans. Yeah.
I'm glad that she wasn't shamed enough to shut it down.
Yeah.
Because
she's resilient, just like all black queens are.
And that concludes our transracial episode.
Black girl magic.
Oh my God.
Bye.
If we don't get shut down for this, I don't know what we can do.
You think Amanda Bynes is going to agree to be in our podcast? Did you ask her yet?
I've been reaching out over and over and over again.
Amanda, please.
She's the type that would come on this stupid ass podcast.
I would love to hear Amanda Bynes' take on transracial.
Right.
She'd be like, I hate all races. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Hey.
What's with that mullet?
We got that in common. Muleta.
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 Yeah.
Goodbye.